Hi everybody. So today's a little bit of a change of pace for this video. In this video we're going to be doing an oil change. So I'm going to show you all the things that you need to change oil. First of all, you need oil, safety wire, and safety wire pliers. I'm putting everything on a cart here so that you can see. So you see you got a bunch of quarts of oil, and that's all mineral oil. There's the oil filter, which you obviously also need. That is called a formafilter. That is, that's a hard thing to explain. That's the 1-inch wrench and socket to take the oil filter off, and a bunch of rags because there will be a mess. So this plane had its engine removed and overhauled, and now after 10 hours we are going to change the oil. And that's mineral oil. It's not regular 100 plus or W100. This is straight 100. So this is straight 50, SAE 50 oil. Here you need 2 small cups because I've run out of cupcake tins to put screws in, so I'm just using paper cups. So the first step, now I've gone and I've already run up this whole, oh, there's some pliers, need those, as well as, a whole bunch of screws. So I've run this engine up, runs perfectly fine. We broke the engine in for 12 hours and it burned less than 1 quart of oil, which is kind of amazing. So what we do is after the plane is started and run up to get the engine hot, we take the cowling off, which I'm doing here. And I'm having to use a bunch of sockets and wrenches because one of the screws in the cowling kind of stripped through the fiberglass, and we had to put a nut on the back of it to secure the screw in place, which is not the normal operation. Normally there's a nut plate. Instead we had to use a real nut, so I had to squeeze a little socket behind it, and then with my left hand actually get it out. It's a pain in the ass. Ass pains. So anyway, like I said, first thing we're going to do is we're going to take off the cowling. Then I kind of loosen the side. I get a drain bucket underneath. All of our engines where the oil plug is have quick drain plugs installed. Can't recommend those enough. My plane will have them. Every plane should have them. Now, you got to be careful about what size. There's 2 different sizes where the output will either be 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch. Well, not 1/2 inch. I think it's maybe 3/8. Anyway, there's 2 different sizes. It doesn't really matter which size you get. But if I would recommend the smaller size that we have on this plane, bigger hoses, what will happen is as that oil's draining, so it's a quick oil drain where you just put a hose on, you push it up and you turn it sideways, and that opens up the sump and lets the oil drain out, which is so much easier than having to clip safety wire off the plug and open it up. Big pain in the butt, big mess. So the only problem is bigger hoses, although it allows more oil out quickly, it also heats up the hose. So if you don't have a really tight-fitting hose on that drain, it will cause the hose to warm up, and then it'll slip off, and then you'll turn around and there will be 2 quarts of oil on the ground, which, you know, no one wants to have to do that. So I recommend the smaller plug. So anyway, plug the hose onto the plug, you get the oil draining. Then I go and I take a pair of wire clippers and I clip the safety wire on the oil filter in the back. I also open up the port for checking the oil for the dipstick. That kind of releases some pressure to let the oil drain faster. Now the formafilter that you'd seen on the bottom that I talked about, it's a rolled up metal filter, rubber filter with a piece of metal in it in the middle that allows you to form it into whatever size you want. I kind of make a trough with it, and then I actually wind up putting it, oh geez, am I done already? Then I wind up putting it underneath the filter because as you unscrew the oil filter, extra oil will come out, and you don't want to make that mess. So anyway, you take the filter off, then you put the new filter on, safety wire it into place, you wait for the oil to drain completely, then you start filling up the oil. Well, no, while the oil's drained, you go ahead and look at the filter screen. Check the filter screen and make sure that it's clean, and then put all of that back in as you need. Now, this actually took a lot longer than I would have normally done. As I said, this is a brand new engine, and we are in break-in mode with it because you don't want to have it screw up. And because of that, you don't want to really run it up too long on the ground. The idea of breaking the engine in is you want to get all the rings and the cylinders to seat, and you want everything in the engine to kind of get used to being run. So you don't want to run it too hard on the ground, so you just run it up until it's just barely warm enough to really get lose its viscosity, and then it'll drain easier. Anyway, once you do all that, then you just take 7 quarts of mineral oil and you dump it into the engine. Oh, and I'd also forgotten, I do also collect the oil. So we collect a sample of all the oil to send it in to get tested by a lab. And I can't recommend that enough either. So, anyway, just a little bit of an insight into the world of flying school maintenance. And after all that's done, you make sure you got all your tools aside, make sure there's no bits, and you put the cowl back on, then you run it up, and you put it back in service. So, anyway, back to plane building, and I'll see you soon.